Swamiji.
We are on page 328,
Oh, okay, good.
chapter called Holy Mother in the Midst of Her Family. We're reading Sarada Devi and her divine play, learning about God as mother. So, anybody have any questions or anything from that's been hanging in their minds over the last week, 2 weeks, years, 20 years? Nothing at all. All right. Well, we've been talking about mother and her family, and she's got her insane daughter-in-law who's given birth to an insane daughter, and she's raising her, and then she's got her family who's very materially oriented and not always super friendly, sometimes reverent, but sometimes they seem to forget that completely. But we have been noticing, or I've been noticing, how mother is always at work behind the scenes, trying to take care of everyone in a proactive way. And I've been really touched and really trying to bring this to the forefront of my own awareness. Just how she's keeping track of people's troubles, keeping track of people's lives, and making herself available to solve their problems, to help them kind of make their lives easier. And we're going to see that a little bit more tonight. We ended with a little conversation between Nalini and Golap Ma. Nalini is kind of very fastidious. She pays a lot of attention to this external ritualistic purity, and which, we don't really know what they're talking about in the West, because we don't really keep track of things like that in that same way. But in India, they've got books and books and books of rules about how to cook and how to clean and what you can wear and where you can stand and where you can walk and whether you have to have shoes on or no shoes on. Or so it's these things are built in to the spiritual nature of that culture. And Nalini apparently really enjoys that, and mother's trying to help her to kind of become a little bit more balanced in her views. And so we're picking up now here with Nalini and her aunt, Sarada. And mother's talking about them a little bit here. She says, Nalini and her aunt, Sarada, were terribly jealous of each other, and they never got along. They hissed at each other like cobras and often quarreled about petty matters. The situation is common in a large extended family. Holy Mother always maintained her equanimity and worked to pacify the members of her family. See, that's exactly what we're talking about. Keeping her equanimity means a couple of things. One, she doesn't get worked up over these different things. And it also means that she's not one who's jumping in to take part in the cliques or the sides of the arguments, that she has always got an objective, neutral perspective, neutral when it's appropriate to be neutral. Mother always maintained her equanimity and worked to pacify the members of her family. Sometimes she consulted with Nalini about household matters to make her feel important. Right? That's a beautiful thing if it's genuinely done. It's patronizing if it's not, but if it's genuinely done, where you really are wanting to include and wanting to bring people in to the center of things, because you love them, because you care about them, because you value them, it's a beautiful thing to do that. So mother here is consulting Nalini and making her feel a part of things, not because Holy Mother needs that, but because she knows that Nalini has a need for that, and she's happy to take care of that. So she consulted with Nalini about the household matters to make her feel important. And during Durga Puja, Holy Mother would send presents to Radu's husband's family. One year she suggested some items to Nalini and asked for her opinion. Excited, Nalini said, Aunt, these articles are not enough. Radu is abnormal, and the behavior of her husband's family may be strange, but you have dignity. You should give generously according to your position. When Nalini added a few items to the list, Holy Mother smiled. If she had not consulted Nalini and sent the presents secretly, Nalini would have been very upset. The mother was very discreet and tactful when dealing with these sensitive women. The mother said of her nieces, I show these girls due respect for their views. Remaining detached, I watch their movements so that they do not go to extremes. One should be humble and give some amount of freedom to all. Oof, this is a really wonderful little paragraph here for someone who's in charge of anything, someone who's in charge of people or has to work with people. Because you get a
Swami, can you repeat the moral of the story?
Yeah. Well, just the fact that that Holy Mother, being constantly aware of the needs of others, is always trying to keep her eyes out for ways of serving. And she's including people, people have their different emotional needs, like Nalini apparently would get angry if she didn't feel like she was being consulted or having a say in the way things are going. And so Mother would make a point of asking her her opinion on things and giving her a say about those things, and but always by maintaining this equanimous attitude, not taking sides, not getting involved, but always kind of floating above all of the politics and the infighting that might happen in these situations, right? So, but Mother's very discreet and tactful. It's talking about, so she's very considerate about how she's treating these people. The mother said of her nieces, I show these girls due respect for their views. So she was respectful of others. Even though she was equanimous, she wasn't aloof or above. She didn't give off that feeling. She said, though, that she remained detached. So she didn't keep a horse in the race, as it were. Right? She didn't interject any me or mine in her concerns for what was going on. But she would keep an eye on them. She said, I would keep an eye on their movements so that they wouldn't go to extremes. So she kind of kept them in a balanced place, but she wasn't controlling. She said one should be humble and give some amount of freedom to everyone, right? Don't feel like, we've all had bosses like that, I'm sure of it, or swamis like that. who felt kind of this impetus to keep in control of everything. They ask you to plant a flower and they tell you what direction they want the petals to face. I actually had an assistant swami tell me that one time about his head swami. He said, yes, he will tell me to plant a flower in the garden. And he'll even tell me what way he wants the petals facing, when it's planted. And so Holy Mother is, kind of saying that's not the way to be with people. You need to respect people's views. You need to back off a little bit to give freedom to people so that your ego doesn't constrict everyone. And that generally as a leader, you just you keep an observation, keep track of what everybody's up to, but don't go poking around. Just use your broad view of things to keep things functioning in within healthy means, so that there's no extremes happen. You don't get anybody out there doing crazy stuff or being over, taking your place with ego. So I'm just impressed with how she had those skills, because she really, didn't have of course, Thakur educated her, spent a lot of time with her, but she didn't go to school and wasn't raised with these things. And yet for her to have such a skill and such an innate wisdom, which I think happens through practice, we get in touch with that innate wisdom, which is part of our nature. But that she had that and had access to that and was so cosmopolitan, had a respect for people of all religions, had a respect for all people of different races, even with white folks, during this time, India had been suffering quite a bit under British rule. And there are stories where some of the brahmacharis were very anti-Western, and Mother would temper them on it, say, no, though they also are my children. And so she had such a broad perspective on things, seeing the whole world as her own. And it's really amazing to me how she was able to do that, coming from such a humble and limited background, just from a small village in West Bengal. And yet somehow she's able to just hold on to these very cosmopolitan ideals. So one should be humble and give some amount of freedom to all. Nalini was very sentimental. One day she became very angry for some reason and refused to eat in order to get her aunt's attention. Holy Mother attempted to coax her to eat, but Nalini continued to fast. Finally, she told Nalini, "Don't consider me to be merely your aunt. If I wish, I can give up this body right now." Right? So just letting her know, I love you and I take care of you and I'm concerned about you, but don't get abusive toward me. Don't think that I'm just your aunt. Always remember there's something more here, something for you to hold some respect for. Nalini's sister Maku was very unhappy and restless. She was married at a young age and her husband was poor. His meager income was not adequate to support his wife and their son. Maku and the boy lived with Holy Mother most of the time, and the mother took responsibility for them. She sent Maku to school and looked after her son, Neda. Holy Mother always maintained a good relationship with Maku's in-laws and sent presents to them. So you see it's reaching across family lines there, that her allowing people to live with her who were poor, who were needy, taking care of them, making sure that their families were provided for, giving gifts to them, and always being aware of the state of your relationships with those others, always making the attempt to keep relationships in good order. Right. So we see all this, the mother doing all of this as a matter of fact. And I found that to be, over the years, studying and reading Mother, I really find, Thakur said a lot of things. You can read the gospel and his quotes are amazing. And he's always teaching with his words. And it's quite wonderful, obviously. Holy Mother doesn't do much of that. You don't get a whole lot of quotes out of Mother. What you get out of Mother is the way Mother is. You have to read about her life. And in her life, she'll never talk about renunciation, but you will get a perfect example of renunciation from her. She doesn't talk about means of equanimity and whatnot, but you will always see that in her. And so with Mother, you have to look at her actions and her being the way that she is. And you get a beautiful demonstration of the highest ideals. And there is as much to learn there as in the words and the quotes of Sri Ramakrishna or Vivekananda. Not that they both didn't also live those lives, but the emphasis was different a little bit for them. In chapter 19, we described how Maku's son Neda died from diphtheria. Holy Mother cried profusely at his death and realized how much people suffer when their children or other loved ones pass away. When Narayan Iyengar saw Holy Mother weeping, he asked, "Mother, why do you weep like an ordinary person at the death of that child?" She replied, "I live as a householder. I must taste the fruit of the tree of the world. That is why I weep. The Master once remarked, when God is incarnated in a human body, he acts exactly like a man. He feels the same hunger, the same thirst, the same sickness, grief, and fear as others do. Even Brahman weeps when caught in the trap of the 5 elements." Right? So she's saying, yes, to take on a body, to come into this world, to attach, to take on a level of impurity, that yes, these incarnations are divine and they know their nature, but they have to taste the experience of the world. They have to allow themselves to attach to things in the world, to care, because they're here for our benefit, perhaps. That's at least an easy thing to say from our side. Who knows why Mother does this? But for me, Mother coming has been a great help. So I assume that she thought about that. And that it's a great demonstration of grace and a great demonstration of love. And I think because we have no other example of divine love in the material world, If God didn't come and provide that for us, where would we see it? You know, how could we ever develop a faith in the love of a God, you know, of a divine love, a love that's not shopkeeping, but a love that's unconditioned. So here's Mother demonstrating that to us, and even showing that level of pain. You know, she could have just been very aloof and not wept about the child at all, carried on. That was certainly within her power. It's a choice for these great ones to step into our shoes and to feel our pain and to weep, you know, to allow themselves to be subject to that pain. Holy Mother's in-laws. Holy Mother acted as a mother figure in her extended family. Two of her sisters-in-laws, Subhashini and Undumati, addressed her as mother. She loved all four of her brothers' wives and helped them physically, spiritually, and financially. Indumati Bharada's wife recalled, I was married when I was 10 or 11 years old, which was the custom in those days. You know, they would usually be a betrothed, you know, which means that they would be promised to a husband at a very early age. But not until, you know, later in their teens would they actually then leave their families to be with their husbands. So arranged marriages sometimes happened long before the children were of marrying age, but arrangements were made that when they did reach those age, that they would be married. So Indumati, Bharada's wife. I was married when I was 10 or 11 years old. I used to help the mother in her household. One day she told me, look, you are young. Work here carefully. My master is a living God. It will not be auspicious if you serve him carelessly. In the beginning, the mother used to cook every day. Nalini and I were young and did not know much about cooking. The mother told us, come to me and learn how to cook. Shall I cook in your household all the year round? Later, I used to cook fig curry, amrol chutney, and gimme spinach for the mother, and she praised my cooking. The mother was fond of my two sons, Chudaram and Vijay Krishna. I was seriously ill after giving birth to Vijay. The mother was very concerned and brought 3 doctors to treat me. She finally blessed me so that I would not have any more children. That's very interesting to find that framed as a blessing. Not that I have any problem with that, but you don't often see that mentioned as a blessing. Subhashini, Prasanna's wife, gave her reminiscences. One day I was cleaning the mother's room and found a bundle of notes, bills, 50 or 60 rupees, with some old papers. When I handed them over to her, she caressed me by touching my chin with her fingers. She was reluctant to initiate me, but when Gaurima insisted, she blessed me with initiation. Once the mother went to Kamarpakor for a couple of weeks. I sent some lotuses and sweets for her. She said, no one in my family sends any presents to me except for this girl. When the mother was in Calcutta, I sent a container of tooth powder for her, which I made from roasted tobacco leaf and coconut leaf. Later, my husband told me that the mother praised my thoughtful gift. One day I said to her, Mother, you have given me a mantra, but I do not know sadhana, and I cannot concentrate on japa either. She replied, you are practicing sadhana by performing your household duties and serving me. That is enough. That is enough sadhana for you. Pray to the master for devotion. The day before Jagadatri Puja, my daughter Bimala's foot became swollen. Soon after, she developed a high fever and lost consciousness. Dr. Vaikuntha Maharaj gave up hope. I grasped the mother's feet and I cried for her blessing. I took a little water, touched it to the mother's toe, and put it on in my daughter's mouth. Holy Mother caressed Bimala's body and then stood in front of the image of Jagadatri, praying with tearful eyes. Mother, you will be worshipped here tomorrow. Is it your wish that my sister-in-law will cry for her daughter? The next day, Bimala regained consciousness. The mother taught me, have the company of holy people, and that will protect you from obstacles. Serve all with loving care. Even a wild animal comes under control through love. Wow. So again, these two women, talking about in these very human and very intricate ways that Mother took care of them, sending them gifts. And we find out from one of them that people didn't reciprocate, that she didn't get all of this stuff back from the family, that it was very one directional. And we see Mother just carrying on, not holding that against them, not letting that decide who she's close to and who she's available to. So she really did have that genuine equanimity inside, and didn't keep track of who was naughty and who was nice. She was very, very, of course, she had an infinite heart, which all of us do. I mean, I think that's the real lesson below this, is Mother was actuated by her nature. She is Satchitananda, just like you and I are Satchitananda. The difference being that Mother lives that. She comes from that place all the time, whereas we, come from that place on a good day, or maybe part of a good day. Okay, maybe a minute or two in a good day. But we are of that same nature, and through our practice, these things come out through awareness, through being taught, and then watching and seeing what it means to be Satchitananda. Okay. Even a wild animal comes under control through love. That's an important thing. That's why love is the way. Argument isn't the way. Debating isn't the way. Loving is the way. And what does it mean to love? Like if you're having a fight with somebody, what does it mean to love? Does that mean you don't fight? Not necessarily. But it means that you change your tack, so that when you're fighting, you change. I think the first thing that being Ananda means is that we can sit down next to somebody and learn from them. That we don't let it get to the point of an argument. We sit down and we try to thoroughly understand that person's perspective. We ask questions. We repeat back what we think we heard to them. We give them ample chance to show us where they're standing and how they see the world. And once we get to that place, then we'll be better equipped to know what to say, or to know how to help, or to be able to give a pointer. And just that process of listening will show that love, and will remove a lot of the defensiveness, and will remove a lot of the pointed, little stickers that we could get trapped by or get provoked by in the conversation if we hadn't done that first, if we hadn't sat down and really investigated what that person was saying. This is a wonderful way to show love. And so Mother's saying, this is the way that even if you've got a troublesome family with lots of different egos and lots of different insecurities and all kinds of needs, that if you remain equanimous, remain aware of what people are needing, and you serve, that you can keep your whole family, your whole extended family going in a positive way, right? Once Holy Mother admonished Kali Kumar's wife, Shubhodhabala, look, you are worn out and disheveled raising one or two children and cannot take care of them properly. I, however, go without giving birth, though without giving birth, am raising thousands of children. Some of them are monks, and some of them are wicked, and some of them are crazy. They all come to me for guidance. How will you understand this? You do not have wisdom or common sense. You only know about money, rice and the paddy bin, your house and your belongings. As you have come to this world, in the same way you will depart. It is said, it is great for fortune to have a human birth. What have you achieved with this precious human life? Right? This is a wonderful question. Because that's one of the benefits of the human birth, and certainly the scriptures talk about what a blessing this is and what great fortune it is for us to have this birth as a human, because it's in this birth that we can actually work with our karma. We don't run purely on instinct, that we actually have the ability to create and alleviate karma as human beings. And so this birth shouldn't be wasted. You have a great deal of intelligence. You have a great deal of spirituality in you. You've got a great deal of potential in you. And we forget that. We lose sight of that. We don't think of ourselves in that way, and we become content with the ordinary. And so the blessing gets I don't want to say wasted, but gets flittered away. We don't have the impact that we could have for good in this world. And so we should always look for that inspiration. First of all, by doing exactly what we're doing. Look at Holy Mother, how deeply engaged she was in that vision and that love and manifesting who she was, and how she's taken care of us, right? Even now, long after her body has been gone, here she is still teaching us and taking us forward. So what have you achieved with this precious human life? Sometimes we try to visualize how Holy Mother, a divine being, participated in the birth, the marriage, and the death ceremonies of her family. While she was in Dakshineshwar, Ramakrishna sent her to Karmarpur to attend the wedding of his nephew Ramlal. She was also present at the marriage ceremony of Ramlal's youngest daughter Radha. The mother was very fond of her nephew Budeb, a son of Kali Kumar. During Budeb's wedding on the 7th of May 1913, she worked so hard that her feet swelled. Budeb was 13 years old when he was married, and his wife Elokeshi was about 10. One day, Shubhabala was admonishing her daughter-in-law, and Holy Mother intervened. Keep quiet, keep quiet. Elo, or Elokeshi, is an innocent girl. You have brought her home, and so much music was played during her marriage ceremony. Don't scold her. She is a sweet girl. All right, so mother taking her side. Holy Mother made everyone her own through love. There it is. Holy Mother made everyone her own through love. And that would be a great thing to put. I'm thinking I used to sleep in a bunk bed in in the dorm in the monastery in Hollywood. And when I would sit up, the ceiling of my room was slanted and the beams went across it. And if I sat up without thinking about it in the morning, I would bang my forehead on the beam right there. And so to stop that, I used to put little scriptures up there to catch my attention, to know they were there and to read them. This would be a great one, even though I don't live there anymore. But if you've got a place on your mirror, in the bathroom or, something that you look at or on your refrigerator, it would be great, to have this little statement here. I make everyone my own through love. Just a constant reminder to ourselves. I make everyone my own through love. So that we just don't forget that we're not mundane, even though the material world convinces us that we're very mundane. To remember that we're profound, that we are a mystery, and that we are incredibly powerful in our effect on the people around us, on the world around us. So Holy Mother made everyone her own through love, and she taught others to do the same. The mother initiated 6 members of her family, Subhashini, Maku, Radhu, and her husband, Manmata and Budeb, and also his wife, Elokeshi. Radhu's husband was not an easy person to live with. My goodness, what a difficult household that would be, because Radhu wasn't easy to live with either. So to have this married couple, poor mother. He came from a wealthy family. Oh my goodness, that would make it even worse. Probably had a sense of entitlement there. But he was lazy, foppish, undisciplined, and extravagant. Wow. That is an unfortunate list of attributes: lazy, foppish, undisciplined, and extravagant. He was not well suited to living in the household of Holy Mother. No, that that would be very true. Can you imagine living with the Divine Mother with that list of qualities? Oof, my goodness. Yes, so he was not well suited to living in the household of Holy Mother, who was always surrounded by monastics and devotees. However, the mother absorbed Manmata into her family and accommodated his way of life for Radu's sake. In Udbodhan house, Manmata had a harmonium, and he played while he sang, and devotees would bring meat curry for him. When the mother was in Kualpara with Radu, Manmata sometimes came to stay. Although he was living in a monastery, he did not care for the routine. Once, during the Vesper service, Manmata was chatting and singing with his friends. The abbot mildly reproached him, and he angrily left Kualpara that night. When the mother heard about this, she sent someone to him the next day to bring him back. Wow. It's interesting, though, that Mother, even though this guy was such a cad, how's that for a word to drag out of the old world? Even though he was such a cad, that she did it for Radu's sake, that she did it for Radu's sake, even though he wasn't interested, even though he didn't care about her blessing. She gave it to him because of Radu, because he was Radu's husband. And she wanted to help maintain peace in Radu's family as well. Once in Jairambati, Manmata asked Holy Mother to give him 200 rupees to pay his property tax, or his estate would be auctioned. The mother did not have that much money. She lived on donations from devotees. Nalini saw how anxious Holy Mother was, so she suggested that some of Radu's jewelry be pawned to raise the money. The mother followed Nalini's advice and took 2 pieces of Radu's jewelry to Jogindra Bishwas, the village mailman, who also made loans. He was very surprised that Holy Mother had come to him to borrow 200 rupees. However, he loaned the money, which he gave to Manmata. When Manmata left, the mother lamented, "Radu's marriage went wrong. Kali Kumar arranged this marriage because Manmata came from a wealthy landlord's family. But now Manmata pesters me for money." Then she dictated a letter to Sharadananda asking for 200 rupees from the interest of her investment in Balaram's estate to retrieve Radu's jewelry. Right? Always solution-oriented. Not running around yelling at anybody, just taking care of things, doing what's necessary, all in the background, selling Radu's jewelry, but then also simultaneously making means for getting it back, so that she wouldn't have to lose it. Because a woman's jewelry in India is really her retirement fund. When her husband dies, there's in India there's no social security or anything to take care of someone in that circumstance. And so for her to take some of Radu's jewelry and sell it's a really big deal, because that's the money that Radu will have to live on if her husband passes away. And so you see her concerned for getting it replaced, not letting it just disappear like that. Happiness and misery, disease and death, union and separation, affluence and poverty, misunderstanding and quarreling, selfishness and unselfishness, dharma and adharma are all parts of family life. As soon as human beings enter this world, they taste the sweet and bitter fruits of the tree of samsara, or of relative existence. Holy Mother experienced both in her human birth. She tried to create a peaceful and joyful atmosphere in her family, but she did not always succeed. Although she was endowed with supreme divine power, she did not want to change providence. Regarding her dealings with Shorabala, Radu's mother, we observed the mother's infinite patience, her perseverance, her compassion, and her forgiveness. right? Another nice list of attributes for us to meditate on right there. If someone was writing a book about you and your behavior today, would they have said that about you? Or any day? We don't become these by attainment. We become these by surrender, because these are our natural tendencies. It's our natural tendency to serve and to be compassionate, to be forgiving, to be patient with others. It's only egoism that pulls us out of our nature, that makes us act in the interest of specifics, and those specifics are usually inspired by me and mine, our selfishness. When we identify with the body, and the mind, that makes us small, and it then makes us sensitive to the needs of the body and mind, and to own those needs as our own. And so we go to take care of just that particular. And that's what stops us from being like the Holy Mother all the time. It's that constant concern, that attachment to body mind. And that's why in our practice we do the neti neti. It's why we do our mantra, to constantly keep our mind pointing toward or moving toward our real nature, which we project on God initially, but then which we come in contact with eventually through practice, and know it to be ourself, know that to be who we are. Holy Mother experienced all of these dualities in her human birth. She tried to create a peaceful and joyful atmosphere in her family, but did not always succeed. In early February of 1907, Shurabala went to visit her father in Maichi, in Midnapur district. She carried her jewelry and Radhu's jewelry with her in a small box because she did not trust anyone in Jairambati. Her greedy father, however, cleverly took the jewelry box from his insane daughter and kept it. This aggravated Shurabala's madness, and when she returned to Jairambati, she went to the Simhavahini temple and began to cry, saying, "Mother, give me my jewelry, give me my jewelry." It was evening, and Holy Mother was talking with Rash Bihari, Swami Arupananda. Suddenly she said, "My son Shurabala is crying to Mother Simhavahini for her jewelry. She has no one except me. I must go." Holy Mother brought Shurabala home. Then Shurabala accused Holy Mother, saying, "Sister-in-law, you have taken all my jewelry for yourself." So this is what she's dealing with all the time. This is what she's dealing with. Let's imagine being able to keep a level mind in that kind of circumstance. It's also cool here that Mother heard Shurabala's cry to Simhavahini, because a Simhavahini is the Divine Mother. And so here, when she was crying to Simhavahini, Mother heard it, even though she wasn't there in that location. So Mother hears our cries like that. Holy Mother replied, "If I had that jewelry, I would throw it away this moment, as I would the filth of a crow." All right. Wow. How many of us feel that way about our jewelry, about our money? If I had that right now, I'd throw it away like the filth of a crow. I wouldn't accept that into my life at all. Wow, that's wonderful. She then told Ras Bihari, "Girish used to say that Shurabala was born as my mad companion." Soon afterward, Holy Mother sent Ras Bihari with a servant to Shurabala's father and asked him to return the jewelry or to come and see her. He came to see Holy Mother, but did not bring the jewelry. Holy Mother fell at his feet and begged him, "Please save me from this terrible situation." But the old Brahmin did not relent. Finding no alternative, Holy Mother wrote a letter to Sharadananda informing him of the matter. The Swami consulted with M and Lalit Chattopadhyay, and both agreed to help. Before leaving Calcutta, Lalit obtained a letter from a high-ranking police officer. Lalit and M first went to Jairambati, dressed in a Western suit, Lalit went to Badangganj police station by Palanquin and showed the letter to the officer in charge. Accompanied by a few constables, he then went to Shurabala's father, acting as if he were a high-ranking police officer. Holy Mother was very concerned lest Lalit humiliate the old Brahmin, so she made certain that M followed him. Before evening, M and Lalit returned to Jairambati with Shurabala's father and the jewelry box, which he handed over to the Holy Mother. Although the episode ended there, Holy Mother became very sick that night with terrible dizziness. When asked about the cause of her illness, she replied, "When they left to collect the jewelry, I had severe anxiety lest that old Brahmin be humiliated, and that caused this dizziness." You know, this is something too. I'm going to put everybody on mute here real quick. But this man, I mean, look at what just happened. You know, her father-in-law takes the jewelry out of greed, causes lots of trouble. Holy Mother goes and is willing to prostrate herself, to get down on her hands and knees and beg him to give that money back. He refuses to do it. So she goes and she gets, you know, takes the matter to the next level. But when they finally go and get this money from him, what is she so concerned about that she actually gets sick over it? She is so concerned that the old Brahmin will be humiliated. You know, she doesn't want him to be humiliated. Look at that compassion. It's like, you know, you know, quite often we would delight in that humiliation. You know, someone treats us like that, someone acting out of greed and making our life difficult because of it. And even when we go and voice our concern and try and get a solution, we're rebuffed and turned away. And yet, even through that, Mother's compassion still remains her primary concern. You know, there's no getting even, no teaching him a lesson, no putting him in his place. You know, it's just about love with Mother. On the 11th of February, 1913, Holy Mother was at Udbodhan House, and Shurabala's abuse reached its limit. Shurabala complained that the mother had used drugs to hold her daughter captive, and that she spent money on her other relatives without saving anything for her daughter. Holy Mother said to her, "Do not regard me as an ordinary human being. You do not abuse me alone, but my father and mother also. I do not take offense. I say to myself that these are mere words. If I were really offended, then who would protect you? As long as I am alive, things will be well with you. Your daughter will remain yours. I shall look after her as long as she cannot stand on her own feet. Do you think I have any Maya? This very moment I could cut all attachment. Someday I shall vanish like camphor in the air, and you will not even know it." Right? So she doesn't lose sight of who she is. It's never out of weakness that Mother is compassionate and kind. And you can see here that there are times where the line has to be drawn, you know, where you have to say, look, don't see this improperly, you know. Shurabala then changed her tone and said, "When did I show you disrespect to your father? I never did. All I meant was that if you want to give something to a person, you give him everything." Shurabala wanted the mother to leave everything to Radhu. Holy Mother told her, "I have a childlike nature. I don't have a calculating mind. I give to any person who wants my help." So you see the source here Mother's talking about. This is where you see that her behavior is also because of practice. You know, she says, "I don't have a calculating mind. I have a childlike nature, and I give to anybody who comes to me for help." So this is the space we come from in our service, from a childlike nature, right? And without a calculating mind. So we're not concerned about how we're going to get this back, or how this is going to benefit us, or how people are going to see us through this action. None of that calculation. A childlike nature, a simple nature. Somebody comes to you for help, you don't sit there and think, what have they done for me? Are they responsible enough? You know, do I like them? Did they invite me to their party? You know, all those considerations are not there. The person came for help. Mother has a simple nature, not a calculating mind. And they ask for help, and mother helps because somebody came and asked for help. You know, it's a beautiful way to be. So many times, how many times when somebody's asked me for money, I look at them and I think, oh, they're young enough, they can go get a job, you know. Or oh, how can you sit there all day wasting your time asking for money? You could be out there reading a book on programming. All those things that run through a calculating mind, that keep us from helping others and yet keep us feeling self-righteous about it, about not being helpful. Right. So to have that childlike nature, to have that simplicity where you're not keeping track of people's behaviors. You don't have a naughty and nice list. And you just have a very simple approach, and someone comes to you for help. You do all that you can to help. That's your nature. That's who you are. That's what you brought into this world. That's why everybody loves a baby. Because there's no calculating mind there. There's just love, just sweetness. After her bath, the mother would pray, "O Divine Mother, please do good to all beings." Shurabala used to scold and say all sorts of things to the mother, but the mother ignored them. All right, so there's what you do. Somebody abuses you and says all kinds of evil things about you. In the morning, you pray for them when you get up. Mother, please bless everyone. And when they go on and on and on, cursing you and making your life difficult, you just carry on. That's that whole Buddhist teaching. You don't have to receive all gifts that are given to you. So if someone's mean, you can just leave it with them. You don't have to be provoked by it. You don't have to take that gift. You can leave it with them. Right? And that's a great practice. That's that story of that angry young man in the monastery that I always tell about. When Swami Prabhupada told me, when I was complaining, he's so angry. You got to post me at the retreat center. I can't do it. I can't live with this guy. And I just remembered his confused face as he looked at me. He's like, why? Can't you see that's just the way he is? Why do you have to be bothered by it? Let him be as he is, and you be as you are. Go on. No worries. And that was such an easy answer. It totally took care of the problem. And after, I just couldn't believe that had not even occurred to me. That I couldn't find any other way around that problem except to move out of the monastery to the retreat center. After he had told me, I was really quite puzzled. I understood why he looked at me like that, because I also was like, dude, that was such a simple solution. How could you be so thick, that your ego immediately takes it to level 9 problem and provides no solution? And you're, no, it's not like that. It's just like what Mother says, only see the good in others. Focus on the good. She says that at one point. She said that she used to when she was young have problems with finding fault. But then she prayed to the Divine Mother, please remove this from me. And she says the Mother removed that so thoroughly from her that it was even now impossible for her to have a bad thought about others. And she says, as a matter of fact, if someone does even a trifle for me, even the smallest nice thing, that's what I will remember them for. They can do 10,000 evil things, but I will remember the one trifle that they did for me. That was how Mother chose to live in this world. And what a great teaching. What a great way to be. I give to any person who wants my help. Shurabala used to scold and say all sorts of things to her, but the mother ignored them. One day Shurabala said to the mother, "You are Sarvanashi, a destroyer of all." Immediately the mother cautioned her, "You can say whatever you wish, but never call me Sarvanashi. My children are all over the world, and such a curse will be harmful to them." Right? Again, she's not like, don't insult me that way because of me. Don't insult me that way because I'm the mother of everyone, and you will hurt all of those people if you hurt me that way. Surabala could occasionally be humorous. And one day in Bodhan House, Holy Mother was decorating the master's picture with flowers and sandal paste before beginning the worship. With a twinkle in her eye, Shordabala said to a woman devotee, "Look, what is the mother doing? She is decorating her husband with her own hands. She would even on rare occasions show respect to Holy Mother. Once in Jairambati, Radhu was ill and the mother was feeding her milk. Shurabala came to see Radhu, and inadvertently the mother's hand touched her feet. Shurabala immediately cried out, 'What will happen to me? Why did you touch my feet?' Holy Mother laughed out loud at this show of respect and said to a disciple, 'Ravana knew fully well that Rama was Narayana himself, the supreme Brahman, and that Sita was the primordial power, the mother of the universe. Still, he did not refrain from ill-treating Sita. Shurabala also knows who I am. She is fully aware of it. And yet, look, she must play her part.' Must play her part. Maya touches all of us, and all of us, it's a nice way to understand, when we make our faults, when we make a mess of things, remember this is how Mother looks at you. She doesn't see you connected to your faults. She doesn't see you connected to your weaknesses. She's detached, so she sees you detached from those things, and she recognizes you for who you are. She would look at you and you would know that you were Satchitananda, because she would see that in you, and she would call you to that. And when you did mess up, she would understand, he has to play his part. We are all under Maya's control. And so we're not always doing what Satchitananda inspires. We're quite often doing what body-mind inspires. But Mother knows and understands. And every time she looks at you, she sees that highest ideal. And why is that important? Because that's the only reason we can sit in the shrine. That's the only reason that our guilty consciences don't chase us out of any holy place, is because of this faith, this understanding that Mother sees us in our purest form, sees us in our highest ideal. And she treats us like that, and she talks to that, and she sees that, and slowly, slowly, because of that grace, we become that. We return to our nature, and we give up this delusion of body-mind, and we find our freedom. We find our intimacy with the divine, our joy.